other issues against Islam. Some people will mention, what else is another one? That Islam promotes violence and terrorism. It's another common objection we'll get into. We will also discuss the punishments in Islam, whether they're extreme or not. Some people say it's extreme to lash people, for instance, or it's extreme to cut off the hand, or it's extreme to stone and things like this. But if you look at their standards, they're actually more extreme. I'll give you one example. If somebody kills somebody in Islam, what happens? There's two things that can happen. Three, actually. The family can forgive, blood money, or execution, right? Okay, what happens in civil courts? There's no forgiveness. In many countries, Western countries, there's no execution either. Life in prison. Can somebody tell me which one's more unfair? I commit the act of murder, hypothetically. Please don't say it. So, hypothetically, I commit the act of murder. I kill somebody. I take their life, right? They're no longer living. Does that mean I deserve to suffer for the next 50, 60 years in a prison cell? So I didn't do that to them. I didn't torture them for 50, 60 years. I just killed them. I took their life, right? Well, not just killed is bad, but But what's worse, torturing me for 50 years in a cell where I live like an animal in a cage, or just taking your life away? Which one suffers longer? The cage. Is that fair? How about this? I steal something, and I go to the same cage with all the murderers and the rapists because I stole something really valuable. Or you cut my hand off, I don't steal again, I go back into society. Which one do you think is more fair? You think about it for a while. It's okay. Live with a disability, but go back into society, go back to my family, be able to live. I paid the consequence. Or stay in jail for the rest of my life, or a very long period of time, away from my family, away from society, among other criminals. Is that fair? I don't know. I don't think so. So we will discuss the philosophical arguments, actually, or the ethical argument, the Islamic arguments, for why our punishment system is better than civil law. Okay? Can we go to the next slide? Sorry. Primary atheist arguments. Number 2, the argument for irrationality of theism religion. Any claim that lacks evidence is unjustified. Unjustified claims are irrational. Theism and religion lack evidence, therefore theism and religion are irrational. This is where we get a little clever. This is a very simple argument to refute. Does anybody want to try? There's something wrong with one of the premises, and it has to do with being self-refuting.
Self-refuting.
Which one? Thank you. Any claim that lacks evidence is unjustified. What about this claim?
Did you fix the conclusion?
Mm-hmm. That's it. It's done. The argument itself lacks evidence, so therefore it's unjustified. There's no evidence for the position. The claim itself, that any claim that lacks evidence is unjustified, which is why I disagree with the fact that we always need evidence for stuff. That's why I believe that the fitrah is enough to rationalize belief in God. And also other things. And I'll give you an example. I walked outside today. I go outside and I see a tree. Okay? I just see a tree. There's a tree in front of me. And I go, that's a tree. Now, I just saw the tree. Okay? Now, here's how an atheist would act if they were to follow themselves consistently. They walk outside, they see the tree, and they go, I don't know if that's a tree or not. I think I'm going to need to take some some evidence of this. I need to take some bark, see if it's plastic or something, Can you imagine living like that? Everything you see, you're like, I don't know if this is real, There are certain beliefs that are just self-evident. There's just certain things that we don't have to question. And if we look at Thomas Kuhn, for instance, remember when I mentioned him? He said that science works in paradigms and they change because of anomalies. In the same way, he was actually talking about the way that we think. Think about it. When you're born into this world, do you reject everything the moment you come in? Do you go, you know what, I don't know if this is my mom. You know, I don't know if this is food. Is this healthy for me? No, we're gullible. But we're naturally like that, even throughout our entire lives. Now, it's not okay to be always gullible, but 90% of the time it is. 90% of the time. I don't walk outside and think that, you know, is this world real? I don't have any evidence for that. You know, maybe I shouldn't be walking here. It could be dangerous. You know, I don't do that. We take for granted a lot of things because we have to in order to live in the world that we live in. If we go outside and the first thing we think is this real or not, we will never get anything done. We'll never do anything. We'll never move past that because it's already something that we assume before we even get started. Okay? Before knowledge can even take place, before evidence can even be asked for, we have to believe that those things exist. So we can't always be questioning everything. I'll give you another example. This is a normal example. If you're in the desert, anybody ever been in the desert? Hajj. Alhamdulillah. So, have you ever seen a mirage? Seen a mirage? Okay. Now imagine if you didn't know anything about a mirage. What do you probably think you're seeing? Water. Right? Do you think it's irrational that you're seeing water? Why? Why do you think it's irrational that you're seeing water? There could be water. There's water in the desert. It's possible. If you see it, I mean, it seems like it's water to you. So in actuality, it's not irrational to think that in the beginning it's water. Now when you walk up to it, you realize, oh, there's no water here. Now, you have a reason to doubt. Because like, oh, okay. So this could be fake in the future. So now I know that if I see something like that, it might not be water. But in the beginning, when you first experience it, you're rational to believe that, you know, it's water. So let's go back to the tree example. I see trees all the time. I walk outside and I look at this tree and it goes, and I say, there's a tree, and somebody comes up and goes, no, that's a fake, it's a picture. I say, what? And the first thing I'm going to say is, no, I don't think so. You need to prove it to me. See now how it's switched around? See, this is common for me to understand. I understand this as being a tree, so you need to prove to me that it's not a tree. I don't have to prove to you that, you know, this is a very normal thing for me to look at, right? So then I go up and then I find out it's a picture. Okay, now I might second guess next time I come out and see this, right? But in the beginning, there's no reason for me to second guess myself. That'd be ridiculous. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. We only doubt when we have reason to. When we experience an anomaly, better said. When we experience anomalies, then we start to feel, okay, now there's something to question. Now there's something wrong here. But normally, we do not act like that. And if we did, we wouldn't survive. Not a day. So, and that also works with the argument for design. You've heard of this argument? Everyone thinks, they look outside, they say, oh, look how complex the world is. It looks designed. It must be created by a creator, right? But this is a very commonsensical belief. It's very commonsensical because we as humans, we create things much simpler than this whole universe. So why is it such a big leap to think, you know, hey, there could be a much greater intelligence here? There's nothing, extraordinary about that claim. There's nothing extraordinary about it. It's very commonsensical. So when I think the world's designed, it's not up to me to prove, because it seems like that. It very well seems that way. Now, until I feel that there's something to doubt that understanding, then I can start to, you know, come up with a different theory. But in the meantime, it's a perfectly logical explanation. The same way that we see a watch, or we see any sort of other mechanical object, the same way we see the world, which is much more complex and functions at a much higher level than what we're capable of. So in a way, we have a right to think, you know, maybe there's something more intelligent. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, probably it's not right to say that Quran is scientific, because in your perspective, scientific is something which is construed upon theory and so on. Okay? Fine, I can agree with that. If you say Quran is not scientific, I can agree. But like for example, Zakir Naik, the view he took was Quran and modern science, especially the facts, are compatible, which means they don't contradict. It appears so. Like for example, if we take the example of the embryology, Professor Dr. Keith Moore, how he, his experience, how he read that Surah Al-Alaq, and he had to revise his book, and he won Nobel Prize, and he went on YouTube and commented and all that. So that also proves to us that our